Hi everyone, I'm Lisa and welcome to Lisa's Stamp Studio. My project today is using the Hold On to Hope bundle for an Easter card. This one I've created here actually has part of the verse that's included in the stamp set, but you're going to see how I draped the flowers over the top. There is a die for both of those pieces, but I'm going to give you some tips about connecting it along with the use of the beautiful linen thread here at the bottom. And we're going to change it up a little bit today so you can see two different variations. If you're here visiting from YouTube, you'll be able to find the pictures and the cutting dimensions along with supplies for today's project over on my blog. You'll find the link right down in the description bar below, making it easy for you to navigate. Let's get over to the stamp table and let's get started on today's project. Here is the card we're going to be creating today, and I'm going to make a slight adjustment by not putting these words on, but I'm going to talk you through this in case you want to add them. The reason I'm doing that is I'm making this a little bit more appropriate for Easter. I'm going to start by scoring my cardstock in half. Whenever I cut my cardstock the long way, which is 4 1/4 by 11, I prefer to score it in half versus fold it in half. It'll eliminate less cracking along the score line since the paper is so long. On the Stampin' Up! Trimmer, the light blade is for scoring, and there's also a dark blade that's included. That's here, and that's for cutting. And I'm going to line this up at 5 1/2 inches, and then I'm just going to score. So now we have our crease for the base of our card. I'm going to go over that crease with my bone folder to make sure I get a nice crisp edge so that my cardstock lays nicely. I've got a piece here of Whisper White cardstock. We're going to do a little bit of stamping. So I've chosen the Old Olive ink, and I've chosen this beautiful vine image. And this is from the stamp set called Hold On to Hope. This is also offered as a bundle with coordinating framelits. And I've taken a couple pieces out that we're going to use. Absolutely beautiful and great to be used all year round. I'm going to go ahead and ink those up, but you're going to notice on my sample, I'm going to show you here once again, see how the flowers are purple? Well, I tried this several ways. Of course, you can take markers to this and then marker all the vines in green and then marker in your flowers, but you know what? That was too much trouble for me, so I decided to do something different. Now, this is just a Lisa thing. If you don't like it, you certainly don't have to do it. Now, it's inked up, and I've got my Elegant Eggplant marker. I've got that ready. Wherever I want my flowers, I am literally going to wipe it off and marker them in. And there's only a few, and you're probably thinking, oh no, you're getting your fingers all green. Well, you know what? That is true, but this is dye-based ink, and it comes off very, very easily with soap and water. So I'm just going to run my fingers across here. Now, if you have a Q-tip or even a small makeup applicator, that works just as well. So I'm just going to remove that ink from areas I don't want it. And since my purple is nice and dark, it's actually going to cover up any leftover ink just fine. Now you can see I have ink on my fingers. I have a rag just off camera, so I'm going to take most of that off. And now I'm going to huff on the stamp with my breath. That remoistens any ink that's left behind to make sure that it hasn't dried, specifically the Old Olive, the green. And then we're going to lift. So now you can see that we have a variation of color here with a simple process using an ink pad and a little ink removal and a marker. I've got my big shot here with the magnetic platform, and I'm actually going to do some die cutting. I'm going to start first with a clear mat on the bottom, and I've chosen some Designer Series paper. This is from the Wood Textures Designer Series paper stack. This is a deal. You're going to get 48 sheets of 6x6 for $10. Great price. And I'm going to use the solid cross framelit on here, and it cuts on the inside circumference, so keep that in mind so you can use up your scraps really nicely. And then I'm going to put a clear mat over the top, and then I'm going to crank this through. All that popping and crunching you hear is absolutely normal because of the rollers in the die cutting machine. So now we have our cross. While I have the big shot out, we're going to die cut that vine. But since it's an intricate die, I am going to lay my precision base plate right over the top. This steel plate actually takes the place of one of the clear cutting mats that we place on the bottom the first time we use the cross. So I'm going to lay my vine here, and I've got my die, and I'm going to line that up, just mimicking those images. I'm going to place a clear cutting mat over the top, and then we're going to crank this through as well. I'm going to flip it over. You can see how nicely it's been die cut. So I'll just go ahead and remove this, and then these pieces will pop right out. You're going to use a little bit of care because there's some delicate areas here, especially around the inside where it's die cut the negatives. So I just use my paper piercing tool to kind of just give those a little poke since they've actually cut very, very well. All right, now let's put the card together. I've also cut another piece of designer series paper. This is from that same series we just cut the cross out of. And this time I'm going to create some small notches using the 1/2-inch circle punch. My grid sheets are like my best friend because I can't make anything straight without them. So I'm going to line this up on here, and I'm going to use a pencil to create a small tick mark on equal sides just so that I know where to punch. So I'll make a mark here. And I'm going to follow that line across, make another mark here. I know you can't see them on the camera, but they're there. So I'm going to come in with my punch, only a tiny, tiny bit, just to create a notch. And now I'm going to follow it across. I'm going to make another notch here as well. All right, so that's going to hold our linen thread. I've got my linen thread here. I'm going to go ahead and unwind quite a bit of it. So we're going to go around here a few times. And I'm going to give myself a nice tail so that I can create that one looped bow I'm going to teach you how to make. So starting on the front, I'm coming in through those notches, 1, 2, and 3. So now my other end is on the same side as this one. And I'm going to use my paper snips, and I'm going to give myself a little end there. Now, one thing about linen thread, it is very thin, so I'm going to teach you a little cheat trick right back here. I'm pulling off a piece of Scotch tape. I'm going to adhere that right here on the back to anchor that in place so that I'm not fighting all those loose ends. And then over here on this side, we're going to start by making what's going to look like a bow. So I'm going to come around and make a single tie. And then I'm going to make a knot because, again, like I said, this is very, very thin, and I find that this is going to help hold it together, especially with mailing as it comes in and out of the envelope. So I'm just going to pull these taut, and I've got my knot. All right, the next step is just like you were going to make a bow. Okay, so I'm coming around, and you know how you would normally stop here to make your bow? We'll take this end, this bottom loop, and pull it all the way through, and then pull. And that's going to give you a single loop. I love these for masculine cards as well because it doesn't look nearly as feminine as a bow would. Giving this a little bit of a haircut so that they're not too long, and I'll push that aside. All right, so now we've got that ready, and let's go ahead and mount this to the base of the card. I'm going to put adhesive on the back, and I'm going to work generously around where that linen thread is because I want to make sure that it doesn't lift. And that's going to go here, leaving a border of cardstock around our card. And I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to rub from the back because we know I had some ink on my fingers earlier, and I don't want to transfer that to the designer series paper. All right, remember our cross? So here we go. We're going to flip that over. Boy, both sides are beautiful. We're going to add a couple dimensionals to ready this for the vine. So I'm going to add them here and here, and down here through the center. Get that ready. Remember the vine? You're going to notice that it's not going to be able to wrap because there is a connection here in the cardstock. So all I did was I took my paper snips and I came in, I just kind of rounded around that flower and rounded a little bit around the edge of that leaf just so it didn't look overly noticeable. And then I tucked it around like this and left it a little bit longer on one side. Or if you prefer, you can move it over. So I'm going to work over here, and then I'm going to separate those pieces right where I snipped, see? And then I'm going to drape that over the cross. Oops, that dimensional needed to go here, guys. Sorry. I make mistakes all the time. All right, we're going to take off that paper backing. And that's going to go here in the center of my card. Pretty for Easter, huh? Okay, let's talk about this one. If you like the words better, let me tell you what I did. Inside the stamp set, which is in the Occasions catalog, the entire phrase is actually much longer. So I stamped it in basic black ink, and I simply cut around the first few sentences, and I mounted it here. And I actually used the same designer paper as I did here, although you can't tell. It just happens to be a lighter variegated area. So perfect for Easter or a sympathy card or just someone who needs a little bit of encouragement. The one we created today without the greeting, and of course the one with the greeting. exciting. If you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and you would like a copy of the current occasions catalog and annual catalog, and of course a copy of the sale brochure, I would be happy to send those to you. Just leave me a comment below. Thanks so much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day.